Hey, what's going on, everyone? Ryan again with rpkcustoms.com. I hope everybody's having a really good new year so far. If you read the title of this video, this is a run announcement video. This is not my V2 run that I'm doing. I'm still waiting on the machinist to run the parts on that. Hopefully those are going to be available soon. This is a completely different run that I'm doing. This is a project that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I finally decided to tackle it. So I'm just going to get right into it. We have all heard of the four main Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi lightsaber props. You have the Hero, the V2, the V3, and the Yuma. But there's a few sabers, one in particular that I rarely ever hear anybody talking about or mentioning. And I find it kind of odd because this is actually the first saber that we see in the film. And it plays a pivotal role in the movie as well. And that is the R2 Saber, or commonly referred to as the Wired Saber, because it was featured in an article of Wired magazine, I think around like 2014 or 2015, somewhere around there. Now, this prop was used in the beginning of Return of the Jedi when Luke Skywalker was about to get pushed into the Sarlacc pit, and he motions to R2 to get the saber ready, and you can see the saber pop up through R2-D2's dome. Now, this was a resin cast saber. A couple of reasons why they wanted to make it resin cast is they needed it light enough to be able to shoot up into the air. I'm assuming they used compressed air or something along those lines to actually launch it out of R2's dome into the air. There are a few reference photos, two really, that we can get a really good view of the saber itself. And one of those pictures is of the pommel, and you can see that there's a hollowed out portion of the pommel, probably where they plugged it into whatever kind of air compressor unit they were using. So I have the prototype right here. I've been working on this for a couple weeks. This is a resin cast saber, so it was a little bit of a learning curve. I've never cast resin before, and I actually had to machine an entire new saber just to be able to make a mold to be able to cast these things. So a lot of work went into this. But without further ado, here's the saber right here. I know it looks beat up and kind of gross, but if you look at the reference photos, it looks a lot like this. You can see the flat top right there and the hollowed out pommel they used for the air compressor. And there's a few details on this saber that I wanted to make sure I got. So in the reference photos, you can see that there is a definitive gap right here in between the booster section and the clamp, which was easily achievable. I just had to move the clamp up. We can also see that this is a V3 clamp. And again, you can see that in the reference photos that it has the V3 holes all around. And I also wanted to make sure that I got some of the relief details in there. So when you make a silicone mold, you have to build up some relief areas so that you can pop the cast out of the mold a little bit easier and it doesn't destroy the silicone mold. So in the reference photos, you can see these reliefs pretty easy. You can see right there at the lip of the clamp lever. Hopefully you can see it. I tried to build that relief as accurate as possible to the actual prop. So it's it sticks out a little bit past the lip of the clamp, and it kind of comes down on an angle and has a little bit of a divot right there in the middle. And again, in one of the reference photos, we can see where the casting line is. So the second reference photo I'm referring to, this is sitting on a table, and you can clearly see where the casting line is. And I tried to replicate the location of that casting line as accurately as I could. It looks like it's just a little bit off center. And like I said, this is the prototype. I left the casting line going all the way up because we don't really see the sides of this thing. All we see is the pommel and the very top of the saber like this. Those really the only two reference photos that we have, and I'll put these up in the video. But I chose to leave the casting lines on the side of this one anyway, just because I'm sure that's probably how it is on the actual prop. Now, I cast this in white resin, and I did that for a reason. In the reference photos, we can see that some of the paint has chipped away especially from the booster and the clamp section, and we can see white underneath, which tells me they used a white resin to cast this thing. So if you look, you can see the white resin underneath the paint. And I weathered this all by eye. I don't have a stencil or anything for this yet. I don't know really how popular these are going to be. If these are really popular, I might design a stencil for these and sell them with the kit. But for now, the way I weathered this one is I just used a liquid type stencil to expose the white underneath. So like I said, I have never seen anybody try to replicate this before. I don't know if this is the first replica of the R2 Saber, but it's the first one I've seen. And, you know, if you're somebody like me that likes to collect each one of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber movie props that he used in the movie, you know, this is kind of a must, in my opinion. You know, even though this is just a resin cast lightsaber, it still plays a pivotal role in the movie. And there's enough differences with this prop versus the other ones that I feel like it needs more recognition than what it gets. So I'm going to be offering these in just a raw white cast. They are going to look kind of like this. This was the very first one that I cast, and there was a lot of problems with it. Now, this is actually the second time that I'm recording this video. The first time I tried to record this, I tried to record the main prototype when it was in its raw form, and I could not get the details to show up for the life of me. It doesn't look too bad now. Maybe my lighting was just a little bit off. But you can see, like I said, I've never cast resin before, so this was just a tester to see how it was actually going to turn out. And you can see there's a bunch of bubbles and everything in that. I've rectified that with this last version. There's still a few bubbles here and there. It's just kind of par for the course when you're working with resin. You might have to fill some of these bubbles in with a little bit of epoxy and then sand it down. But I've got a new method on casting these things that I think is going to take 98% of all the bubbles out. So you're not going to have to worry about bubbles too much. So if you're watching this video, if you've got to this point, these are available on my website right now. I am going to be making a batch of 10 at a time. And that's because the resin takes a long time to fully cure. Now, when I bought this resin, I bought a resin that claimed to cure in 4 hours. I found that that's not the case at all. I found that out with this one. It actually takes about 2 days to fully cure these things. So these are going to be a little bit of a pre-order item. I really hate doing pre-orders just because there's been some people in the community in the past that have taken pre-orders and not delivered. And I don't want anybody to think that I am trying to scam anybody or anything like that. It's just the nature of the epoxy that I'm using, the resin. And I only have one of these molds. So I'm going to have to leave these in the mold for 2 days to fully cure before I can pop these out. So there's going to be a little bit of a wait time on these, which is why I'm only doing a batch of 10. That way I don't get too far behind. Like I said before, I'm not really sure how popular these are going to be, even if I'm going to sell 10 of them or not. You know, you kind of have to be in a little bit of a niche collecting hobby to want one of these things. You know, maybe you collect every single version of Luke Skywalker's or Mark Hamill's movie prop from Return of the Jedi, or maybe you have an R2 unit and you're building an R2 unit and you want this to plug into the dome. Either way, I'm not really sure how popular these are going to be, but this is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I just thought this was kind of a cool, unique saber, and I wanted to take a crack at it. So I'm going to have better pictures of this on my Facebook and Instagram page at RPK Customs. So if you want to see this thing in more detail, you can go over there and check that out. And I will also have pictures of these on my website. I'm probably going to be offering a few fully painted and weathered versions of these. But like I said, my V2 run is going to be coming out soon, so I'm going to be pretty busy with that, and I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have to paint and weather these things. So, if you're interested in one of these all done up, you can shoot me an email or message me on Facebook, Instagram. But I'm also thinking about doing a painting and weathering tutorial on these, so that if you just want to buy a stark white version of this, you can follow the tutorial and paint your own. These things are not really that hard to paint, and it's kind of a fun little project. Just give you guys one last shot of this before I take off. And we can see, little chips and cracks in the clamp. Now, when you get this, it's going to come pretty much prepped. So you can see this is where the pour spout is on my mold. It's not going to come with that. It's going to be completely cut off flush, just like this. And the emitter is also not going to come cracked. There's not going to be any chips in the clamp. This is going to be pretty much a pristine cast. And then it's going to be up to you to modify it and, crack the emitter dish and take off some chunks in the clamp. However you want to weather this thing will be up to you. But I think that's it for this video. If you want to pick one of these up, you can head over to my website, rpkcustoms.com. And like I said, these are going to be a limited run, 10 at a time. If they seem to be pretty popular, I will extend that. I will do batches of 10 consistently. Thanks for watching, guys. May the Force be with you.